Hi, so I'll be talking a little bit about the studio exhibition portfolio that I just submitted. So, firstly, I'll just give a brief overview of the project and how I worked on it, what exactly I worked on. So, the premise of my project, I guess, specifically my remix, because that was kind of the one that resonated with me the most, was focusing on a esteemed feminist author, Bell Hooks, who also discusses the Black experience in a lot of her writings and kind of discussing various different educational practices, both with her growing up and things that she's implemented since as an educator. And the conclusion that she comes to is pretty simply that engaged pedagogy or revolutionary pedagogy, sometimes she says, is the most effective method in educational liberation. And that's something that she uses to mean kind of liberation on the path to self-actualization, which is another term that she coins, meaning just how to reach your full potential, basically. And she says that that starts in the classroom, which makes sense. And her opinion and standpoint kind of makes sense that that would be her conclusion, given that she grew up in the segregated South and she had lots of experience with education among black individuals in a segregated system, and then when she was integrated into a predominantly white system, how that impacted her learning. So that was something I focused on quite a bit and influenced my thinking a lot in the studio, both for that remix and also out of it a little bit. But also, that was a big focus for me during my seminar course. My essay was focused on Bell Hooks's writing, and my final group project was also focused on Bell Hooks's writing. But these three things, the exhibition portfolio and the two projects for seminar, they all kind of focus on a different element of her work and a different argument in her writing, and that's something I find really valuable about this kind of two-class nature of 1007. Specifically, in the multimedia side of things for studio, I really appreciated all the opportunities we were given to explore different ways to communicate an idea. And honestly, in the past, that's not really something I would have considered for myself to use, and maybe not something that I would have thought would be valuable. I was always kind of someone to just write an essay generically and just explain my ideas textually and not really consider other forms of media. But I think looking at my portfolio now, I couldn't see the writing without the other elements, both graphics, images, general context that's not strictly academic writing. And I think the multimedia aspect brings something really unique to the table when conveying an idea. And kind of going off of that multimedia stuff, so the accessibility principles that I incorporated, obviously I included alt text, and on a certain page I explicitly label this as alt text, but throughout the website, I think a lot of my written explanations of work and kind of labels also act as alt text, even if they're not labeled as alt text. For instance, in the asset list for the remix, I give kind of general descriptions of how I used each element in the remix, but I also explicitly say what the remix is, as though it functions as alt text and is just explaining what a picture is for someone that can't access the picture for whatever reason. So, also in terms of accessibility, I made sure to focus on the mobile aspect of the website a lot, and I used Wix's mobile editor to make sure that if someone were scrolling through the website on their phone, it's just as smooth and seamless as though it were on a computer. In terms of collaboration with my peers and peer feedback, I was unfortunately out for a lot of the semester, sickness and otherwise, so I didn't get a ton of peer feedback, but the feedback that I did get was really constructive. I think first and foremost because it just lets you view your work with fresh eyes. That's kind of obvious, but what I mean by that is if you're looking at your work for the same time, like the 50th time in 1 week, you're not really gonna be able to identify what's not smooth about it. Even if you can tell something might not be totally effective, it's hard to pinpoint that. And one thing that was one piece of advice that was given to me, I think it was studio session 4, was that you have to be explicit about the purpose of your site and not just your general argument, but each element of your site has to have a point, has to be something identifiable, whether that's just the headers in your menu, like the About Me and projects, like what does this mean, or whether that's the content of your writing that describes one of the projects. So I think that was something I worked to be more intentional about through the process of crafting this exhibition portfolio, was to not just let myself have an understanding of it and just uh, run with that, but also to make sure that it was universally understood, if not maybe like universally resonated with, but at least that um, people could understand what I mean by it, even if they don't agree with all the arguments I make. So I think that was something I worked hard to incorporate. Yeah, specifically in my remix, I think, given that the remix is maybe not an abstract project, but I think so. I used a collage for the remix, and it was given in the description of that format that collages are almost supposed to be a little maybe not vague, but there's room for interpretation when someone views it, because it's not just a block of. Oh, sorry, my computer just fell. I caught it. Sorry about that. Sorry. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So in the collage style remix, it's not just a block of text where the meaning is clear. If it's a grouping of photos, there's many different ways for people to interpret that. So I think while that was valuable, I also needed to make sure that my argument with the remix was had a clear structure for people then to interpret what they would from it, and that was something that was advice that was given to me, was that it's not always clear where I'm going. So I needed to contextualize everything, refer back to each of the sources I was using, and kind of adapt from there. And in terms of how I can use this in the future, the curation project gave me an idea that if I were to make some sort of professional gallery for my photography in the future, I think I might not just go about it in the way of just putting photos and that's it, but I think I could incorporate multimedia in some sense. And that's kind of the reverse, because with an English class, you think multimedia would be incorporating photos, but for a gallery, the additional media might be text. So I might include more descriptions about my photographic style. I might include more biographical information, information about what photos mean to me. So I think the themes of multimedia are pretty universal, and I think like multimodality is applicable in almost all aspects of college work, at least, and beyond, for sure. And I found this course really valuable for that, and I thank you for encouraging us to expand our horizons with how we convey information, and I'm really happy with how my project turned out, so thank you.